Welcome back to the ABJ Podcast, Tornado Tag Edition. We are on location, so sorry if you guys were looking for us to be live on a Thursday night. Listen, anytime we can do on location at Pilgrim and have some amazing beers.
That's right.
We're gonna take advantage of the situation. So we're gonna air this on Halloween for you guys, and tonight we're gonna be talking about the most haunted matches in pro wrestling history. Now, this is more going to be horror, spooky, slasher, scare, anything that invokes the horror or scary or like this can be a gory style match. Now, there's tons to go with here. We're going to do our best to cover as many as we can. But before we do any of that, welcome back to Tornado Tag, your ringside seat to the wildness and weirdness and sometimes creepiest stories in professional wrestling. Before we get started, a quick warning: this episode dives into darker, bloodier, and more supernatural side of wrestling with fire, graves, hauntings, and yes, a few electrocutions. So if you're squeamish, under 18, or listening at work, maybe pause, grab a flashlight, and come back when the lights are on. You have been warned, this one gets dark. That's our little thing. So we are not safe for work. This is not a podcast for children. If you want your kids to listen because you're there, you're guiding them, I'm all for it. But I'm just putting out there that I'm not trying to be a role model for the kids.
A dirty word or two may fly out.
Yeah. That's just how we roll. But let's just do a quick little rundown here. Professional wrestling has always been theater, but once in a while it crosses into something more supernatural. From graveyard and fire rings to haunted houses and demonic puppets, wrestling horror matches are where athleticism meets full-blown horror cinema. These matches were more than just spectacles, they were experiments in fear, symbols of death and rebirth, and occasionally complete fucking disasters.
Oh yeah.
Let's dig them up, literally, and cover some of the best spooky, horror, paranormal, scary matches in professional wrestling. So BP, I have a little rundown of the match. I can do my little rundown, and then you can cover what you want to cover about it, and then some matches that go with it. Sound good?
For sure.
All right, well, let it all begin with one man that pretty much ushered in what we would say the mainstream horror, the mainstream everything, and that is The Undertaker.
Oh, yes.
From a towering mortician from Death Valley who blurred the lines between wrestling and an undead entity to solidify his legend, WWE created the casket match. The rules are simple in this one. Seal your opponent from inside the coffin, close the lid, and bury their spirit in darkness. Why it was created is because The Undertaker needed a signature environment, something gothic and terrifying and permanent. The casket became both a symbol and a weapon. This is kind of something that Vince said back in 92.
That's how it started.
The Undertaker has brought his own coffin. Look at the size of that thing.
Well, yeah, because the first casket match is Survivor Series 1992. It's actually the first Survivor Series to fully abandon the whole concept of it's teams of 4 or 5 and elimination matches. And one of the key matches on that card is The Undertaker against Kamala in a casket match. And it's a little different from the other casket matches that would come later. It was like the proto casket match. And it's a wooden casket, like a brown wooden casket, and it had Kamala's body paint, the moons and the stars on the casket. And it was really used as a catalyst for Kamala to turn babyface. So it's a little bit different than the other casket matches because, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there was a pin. Like Undertaker pins Kamala in the middle of the ring, rolls him into the casket, they nail it shut. Which, if I'm Kamala, I'm like, what the hell?
No shot.
No. But it wasn't like an airtight casket because they had done things. We talked about it on a previous episode with like a traditional like metal casket. I think that might have even been a coffin match.
Yeah.
Because it was more of a wooden thing. And then that's all they had on the original Survivor Series. And then you had a thing on the Coliseum video, like they would do extras. So they did a thing on the Coliseum video for that where they bring the casket to the back and they pry it open and Kamala just looks like he's freaking out, obviously. And they used that as a catalyst for Kamala to turn babyface. Reverend Slick took him under his wing and he was trying to humanize Kamala, make him a man, not a savage. He would take him bowling and silly things like that.
You get buried alive and your life just turns around.
Yeah, well, he wasn't buried. Yeah, he was just locked in, trapped in the casket.
Yeah.
And then it evolves a little bit later because the next series of them are the ones with Yokozuna.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
So that's when you get the giant casket because it's got to be big enough to fit Yokozuna. And Paul Bearer talking about being double wide and double haunted. so Yokozuna could get in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when it really. And they did ones with Gold Dust with the more like. Some of them they would do just to kind of do the magic tricks behind it. Like there was one, and I believe 95, 96 with excuse me, with Undertaker and Gold Dust. And like the casket's open, they're doing spots where they're trying to get the guy in the casket, because after that Kamala one, the casket match became you have to put the guy in the casket and close the lid to win.
Yeah.
So there were ones where they're opening and closing the casket over and over again. And finally, Undertaker has Gold Dust dead to rights. He opens the casket that's been empty this whole time. And now Mankind's in it and gives him the mandible claw. Reaches out like that and gives him the mandible claw. I had to make sure that everybody knew we were that close to each other. And they would always kind of manipulate it to be whatever they wanted it to be. And then we had, like, there was one where I think they were writing off Undertaker on like a Raw or a SmackDown, so they put him in a casket and then somebody just beats it with like a hammer or a bat or something. Obviously the match where Shawn Michaels had to take a hiatus for 4 years because he bumps on the casket and messes up his back. And Kane puts Undertaker in it, sets it on fire, and all that stuff. But yeah, that is still to this day the signature Undertaker match. If someone say, name a gimmick match associated with the Undertaker, and he's done a lot of them, it's probably that one.
Yeah. So a few other companies have done the casket match.
Yes.
AEW is very prominent with it. It's become like Darby Allin's signature match, even though he's lost the last two.
Well, Undertaker lost his fair share of casket matches too, to be fair.
And then one of my favorite non-WWE casket matches was done in Lucha Underground. When I believe they had a different name for it, but this was more of a concept in their Aztec style.
Yeah.
And it was Mil Muertes versus Rey Fenix. That was a sick match. That's where, like, Mil Muertes, if you go back and watch, he beats the shit out of Rey Fenix. Rey is bleeding, and his mask is half ripped off his face. Just visually, it's a really good match. But that was their version of the casket match. Mil Muertes was kind of like their Undertaker. So yeah, I'm just trying to think of the other places that has done casket matches.
TNA did one very similar called a Last Rites match, which didn't go very well. It was Sting and Abyss.
Yeah.
And there were like candelabras in the ring, and the casket lowered down. Like there was literally a Fire Russo chant during the match. That's how bad it went.
Nice.
But that was like their spin on the casket match. There's been a bunch of different versions.
So fun fact for this one, Undertaker personally designed many of his early caskets, each one themed for the feud at hand. So that's kind of cool that Undertaker kind of took that into his own hands. Yeah,
like I believe the Goldust one was gold and it had like a star on the casket.
Yeah.
The ones with the Yokozuna was obviously a very big casket, and it had like the Undertaker and a moon, and it said
like
rest in peace
or something with it too. Yeah. But all right, our next one here. We're going to go 6 feet deep, BP, and it's going to stick along the sides of the Undertaker.
Oh, no.
This is going to be the Buried Alive match. When a coffin wasn't enough, WWE went deeper, literally. When the Buried Alive requires the wrestlers to hurdle their opponent into a dirt pit and bury them alive. No pinfalls, no submissions, just dirt, death, and drama. The Undertaker and Mankind's feud has gone beyond the ring. They needed a final fit to end their horror-style matches. So the rules of this is the opponent must be buried completely, the gravesite is constructed near a stage of the ring, and machinery or shovels were used to finish the job.
Yeah. Shovels was the first time, then they realized how long that took, and then they would use a backhoe after that. Yeah.
So there are. That wasn't just Mankind versus Undertaker.
That was the original.
That was the original in '96. There are some other ones. What are some other ones that stand out for you?
Undertaker and Austin, which I think was the next one.
Yep.
Where it usually was something they would do at that point. Undertaker almost always lost them. It was another one where he almost always lost them. But he actually won the first one because he covered Mankind with enough dirt that they called the match, and then he got jumped by the Executioner, who was Terry Gordy in a very, very short run toward the end of his career. And they all, like, a bunch of heels, like, gather up. Like, it was almost like the casket match with Yokozuna at the Royal Rumble, where, like, 9 or 10 heels come out just so they could have a bunch of people trying to fill up that thing before they run in the backhoe. And that one sticks out, obviously, because it was the first. The one with Austin sticks out. And that was when Undertaker went away. It would be usually when Undertaker was about to reinvent himself. he would lose a buried alive match, go away for like 4 to 6 months, and then come back. So when he loses the one against, or wins the one against Mankind, and then gets buried alive, and then they do that lightning thing they would do sometimes. Lightning hits the gravestone, and Undertaker's hand shoots up through the dirt. So they had that, and then they had that was a transition from the Undertaker going from the purple and black Undertaker to like the velvet Undertaker with the teardrop tattoo.
Yeah.
And then the one he loses to Steve Austin is when he goes from, I believe, that Undertaker as a heel to the Lord of Darkness Undertaker that is going to command the ministry, and he goes from a goatee to just a beard, and he's commanding the ministry at that point.
Yeah.
So, and then most famously, another one was Survivor Series, I believe 2003, where he loses to McMahon, to Vince McMahon. I believe it was McMahon. And then he goes away for a while because that was when he was the biker taker, big evil, American badass, whatever you want to call it, incarnation of the Undertaker. And he doesn't come back until WrestleMania 20, and he's back with Paul Bearer, he's back with the urn, he's back as kind of the undead cowboy Undertaker he was for the rest of his career.
Yeah. And also the one with him and Kane in 2010.
Yep.
Wasn't the him and CM Punk one where they used like concrete one, or was that not?
Oh no, you're thinking of the Concrete Crypt match.
Okay.
That was actually a handicap match between Undertaker and the Dudleys. It was right before the Dudleys got cut by WWE in like 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. So what they did with that one is Paul Heyman wound up kidnapping Paul Bearer, getting possession of the urn, and he was basically using the fact that Paul Bearer was being kidnapped and held hostage by him and the Dudleys to control the Undertaker. So it was when they brought back the Great American Bash, and they have the main event is the Undertaker against the Dudleys, and the whole thing is Heyman wants the Undertaker to basically take a dive and lose to the Dudleys on purpose, and he doesn't. He beats the Dudleys. But Paul Bearer is in a glass case, and he's like waist deep in concrete, which wouldn't that already be a problem?
Yeah.
And Heyman continually threatens, like, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to bury Paul Bearer in concrete. And so the whole crux of it is Undertaker wins anyway. Heyman goes to pull the lever to bury Paul Bearer like completely in concrete. Lightning hits the lever on the concrete mixer, but then Undertaker comes out and says, "I can't have this," or something to the effect of, "I can't have this weakness, Paul. I'm sorry." Pulls the lever and says, "No, Undertaker, no!" And Paul Bearer just gets covered up in concrete.
Is that how they wrote him off?
Yes. The first time they wrote him off. He did come back much later. Like they showed a thing on SmackDown where they were trying to bust him out. And they said he had severe internal injuries. They didn't say he died.
Yeah.
But they did. I think they eventually did kill off Paul Bearer.
Yeah.
I think he was like left in a freezer or something. And then obviously he died for real much later.
Then they did the CGI when the Undertaker retired.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I thought was dope.
Yeah,
that's probably my favorite part about Taker retiring is when they did the
Tupac hologram of Paul Bearer.
Yeah, it was so good. Well, it's gonna be very Undertaker heavy in the beginning here,
of course,
because from Fire and Flesh and Fear, we now have the Infernal match.
So this is obviously when Kane gets introduced to the equation.
Yeah, so the Infernal match looked like hell itself. The ring encircled by walls of fire, raising higher and higher with every impact. I couldn't imagine sitting front row for this match, because like when they shoot pyro off at like basketball games,
you can feel the
warmth. You feel it.
Yeah.
So, and this is on the entire time, and every time the ring would hit, the gas would make it go higher again, and then of course they would possibly probably do it more, so it would do so.
Right.
But no pins, no countouts. Win by setting your opponent on fire. Why it existed to embody Kane. Kane was supposedly Undertaker's severely, badly burned brother coming back, and this is a way for him to get revenge on Taker by burning him alive. The Big Red Machine was half man, half monster, trapped between rage and fire. So a lot of Infernal matches almost became a Kane staple more than an Undertaker staple.
Yeah, like Kane would have them outside of wrestling the Undertaker. In fact, it might have just been the first Inferno match that was Kane and the Undertaker. I think it was like Unforgiven.
Yeah, 98.
98, yeah. And I think Kane goes for like a boot or something, and his foot catches on fire. I forget exactly what they did.
I remember being a kid and being like, well, how are they going to do this? And I think the first time was his leg, and then the second time was with his arm looked more padded than the other one.
Yeah, that may have been the first one because he at that point, Kane at the beginning was wearing a full sleeve.
Yeah.
And he obviously has like material under that and you run to the back. And usually Kane was the one that would lose it because there were so many ways you could cover him up to face
You're protecting his face. His hair was super like. I remember I think even before the match, you were like, "Oh, his hair is really, really shined up right now." Like,
and in fact, one of the ones I can remember where Kane doesn't lose is when he wrestled MVP.
Yeah.
But MVP wore the bodysuit, and his back caught fire.
Yeah.
But he just ran to the back. He obviously had protective stuff under a gel and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I always get answered with that because anytime that you're dealing with like fire or glass or anything like that, and I know people love deathmatch stuff, and I'm not, no disrespect intended to that.
It scares the shit out of me.
But it scares me when there's things that if this goes slightly wrong, something very, very bad could happen. And that's always the case with fire.
Yeah.
Always.
And then we also had The Fiend and Randy Orton in a Firefly Inferno match, which was more of an updated ending because that one was during the pandemic when the whole time we're like, oh, the Inferno matches are cool, but like no one actually.
Right.
And this one, they're like, they used the dummy and lit it on fire.
Yeah.
Let it cook.
Right.
Yeah.
And even before that, I mean, they did do a thing with Bray on the outside where, like, I think his jacket caught fire. He's wearing a jacket.
Yeah.
And obviously they did that. In a closed set, it's a lot easier.
Dude, pandemic wrestling and doing that cinematic style, I think there's still a place for it. Like, it can't be done in front of a live crowd, but like
I'm not a fan.
Now with the Netflix special, like, I feel like you can every now and then do some of those style matches and put them out for like a special.
The only one I really liked because it didn't completely lose the thread of this being professional wrestling.
I'm going to do cases later on the list. Yeah. But fun fact, WB used to propane-fed jet flames controlled by a crew under the ring, and the heat was so intense that even the front row cameras had to use protective covers.
I wonder if Hank Hill was involved in that. Was Strickland Propane involved in the Inferno match?
Oh, damn it.
Was it in Arlen, Texas, or close by?
Now, these are probably BP's favorite matches that we'll get into next.
Oh, no.
The House of Horrors matches.
The ones from NXT with Dexter Loomis?
That one was actually kind of fun.
Oh, Bray and Randy, right?
Yeah. What happens when WWE tries to make a horror movie? You get a House of Horrors match. It starts in a haunted mansion, the fight throughout chaos, and usually ends in the ring. So it's something along the lines, and this is not really on the list of anything, but the backyard brawl fight. With
the backlot brawl.
Backlot brawl with Goldust and Roddy Piper.
Do you know how they finished that?
Well, they just finished in the ring eventually.
Well, yeah. So the way they finished that, it's WrestleMania 12. It's in LA. It's 1996, I believe. And so they're fighting on a Hollywood backlot. One of the first things that happens is Goldust hits Piper with a gold Cadillac. But then Goldust takes off in a white Ford Bronco.
Yes.
And then Roddy chases him steals a cop car and chases him. And they're saying they're headed to the Staples Center. They're headed to Arrowhead Pond. I think it was an Arrowhead Pond. And the footage they're showing is the OJ chase.
Which is hilarious. One of my favorite matches ever.
Hilarious or awful?
Both. I like it. I also am a huge Goldust, and like that match made me a Goldust fan, but also that match I was a Piper guy and a Goldust guy.
And that match ends on complete Vince humor because Goldust, it ends up in the ring. And the kind of finish is Roddy rips off Goldust's bodysuit and he's wearing like women's lingerie under it. Yeah.
That was still funny as a kid. I liked it. But so this is kind of lend credit to that. So it's something that's filmed pre-tape that the fans watch on the screen and they work their way to the ring, which that's usually when the match actually starts and then it ends there. Why was this one created? It was to visualize Bray's cultish mind. Part ghost, part story, part fever dream. So you were able to really lend hand of what Bray was able to do with his abilities and how he was going to be spooky. Which, as a wrestling fan, God rest Bray Rod's soul, you know what I mean? But we have a literal Fire Funhouse, House of Horror style attraction happening right now in Universal Studios.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like wrestling has crossed over to legit haunted houses.
Yeah, it has. If you're into that thing, it's very cool. Yeah.
So some matches that happened, we just talked about Randy versus Bray and Payback 2017. Also, there was the one in NXT, which might
Dexter
be named different.
Loomis, and I want to say maybe Cameron Grimes. Yeah,
where he was just kind of chasing them. I actually thought that was kind of fun.
It was, because that was when they brought back Halloween Havoc as an NXT thing.
Yeah. Halloween Havoc, great Halloween pay-per-view.
Yeah. I'm so glad that they brought it resurrected. We actually got to go to Halloween Havoc last year. It was in Hershey.
Yeah, so
a lot of fun.
Some love the surreal match and cinematic vibe. Other call the WWE strangest detour into a B-movie.
And I'm more on that side just because I think a show should have a through line.
Yeah.
And the reason I have a lot of respect for something like Lucha Underground is we've established this as a world where anything can happen and crazy things happen regularly. Where when WWE does it here and there with Dexter Loomis and Undertaker or Kane, it's like you should take everything very seriously and treat it like an actual sport, except for this thing. Yeah. This thing is something completely different. It's the same show. It would be like if you had a reality show and then in the middle of it, a wizard showed up and turned somebody into a frog.
I think that's one thing. I know you're not a huge fan of the product, but I think that's one thing I think AEW is doing fine. They don't really have any paranormal.
Yeah, they just have really stupid stuff like people using flamethrowers.
Yeah, but that kind of just lends to Darby's a psycho. But there's no paranormal aspect to it.
But here's the thing: if somebody brought a flamethrower out in the National Football League, arrest that guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Put him in jail. That's
they've threatened to kill people by lighting them on fire.
Right. Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a little detour from WWBP.
Okay.
And we're going to head over to WCW.
WCW. All right.
And we're going to go to the Chamber of Horrors.
We may have some bonus content here.
Yes. So if we get this done in time, which is not looking likely because it's already 7:42.
They close at 9.
Do they close at 9?
Yeah.
All right. So we might be able to do this. We're going to actually do a watch-along where you guys can come and hang out with us. And we might actually throw another camera up and invite somebody else from the bar to come watch it with us. We're going to watch this match and just, hey, start your recording now, and we're just going to talk and watch it and enjoy the spectacle. So it's 1991. Halloween Havoc needs a showstopper. The solution? A cage with an electric chair in the middle.
No, a chair of torture.
Chair of torture.
It's a chair of torture.
By winning, the rules of this match is by winning by strapping your opponent into the chair and throwing the switch. Which the switch is broke the whole match.
Yes, it's on most of the time because up is on, up is off, down is on. So instead of throwing up the switch, you're slamming it down.
Yeah,
but it just keeps falling down.
Yeah. So one of the best wrestlers in the match has been dedicated to just holding the switch up. We'll talk all about it. But why this was created, WCW wanted a literal death match to sell the horror theme. To outdo WWE's supernatural theatrics.
Yeah, this is around the time of, Halloween Havoc. Yeah, The Undertaker came in 1990, so, and it's also Halloween. Like they had done similar things. Like the first Halloween Havoc, they had a electrified cage match.
Yeah,
and the second one they didn't really do a whole lot. It was the original fake Sting, but they didn't really have a lot of Halloween stuff. But 1991, the third Halloween Havoc, they go a little bit more all out. They're really going to invest in this. And you have, you're teasing the WCW Halloween Phantom is going to wrestle, who is Rick Rude. And then you have the Chamber of Horrors match. So they're really leaning into it. And then in 92, the big gimmick for the next two becomes spin the wheel, make the deal.
Yeah, which, love that. Love the wheel. And it's still alive and well.
Spin the wheel, make the deal. Did you ever see the vignettes for it?
Yeah, some of the old ones.
So there was Cheatham, who was a little person, who was. It was very fitting now because the first one was Sting and Jake Roberts, and Sting goes into a bar to find Jake Roberts. Perish the thought.
Yeah.
And the wheel's in there, and it's like Cheatham is this little person who was like he becomes like a bad guy in all these WCW vignettes that Bischoff was really into, and he's just like up on like something going, spin the wheel, make the deal, spin the wheel, and then after like it becomes like we're going to do this. Sting and Jake like square off face to face, and primitive CGI lightning bolts shoot out of their eyes at each other, and then there's a big explosion. It's the Halloween Havoc logo.
I love that.
So, because it's Halloween Havoc, let's talk about that real quick. I don't know if this is true enough, but my understanding was because the first one, Bill Watts, it wasn't even Bischoff. Bill Watts was the booker at this point, and my understanding is. The wheel was not gimmicked because Bill Watts was very in the kayfabe, very in the realism Like Bill Watts, you think I'm a traditionalist. Bill Watts, he's like Jim Cornette turned up to 11 as far as being a traditionalist. And they even had a thing, and that match was in Philadelphia, it was at the old Civic Center. They showed this thing backstage. It's like, oh, if it's a cage match, we have a cage. If it's a barbed wire match, here's the barbed wire. They had a thing called a Prince of Darkness match, which was a blindfold match. Here are the blindfolds. So they were showing like everything we do, here's the thing for it. And the reason most people think it's worked is the match that actually turns up sucked.
Yeah.
It was a coal miner's glove match. Like, nobody wants to see a coal miner's glove. Well, maybe here in coal country. Like, yeah, coal miner's glove. Coal, baby. Coal. I love coal.
Black gold.
Christmas around here has to be really weird. Like, everybody tells Santa they were banned on purpose.
Yeah.
Because they want the
some
coal.
money.
But yeah, so that was the match. It was like they put a glove on a pole that's supposed to be loaded with steel, and that was the match. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's the spin the wheel, make the deal match.
Yeah, so fun fact with this one, the switch went off early. Abdul actually accidentally got fried mid-match, producing one of the moments, wrestling's most unintentionally hilarious moments. The match itself is just funny. You got
it's bad.
Tony Schiavone going, "Good Lord, Abdul has been electrocuted." It's
the ring caught on fire.
The ring caught on fire. Yeah. It wasn't a situation where Muda had to miss it out.
No, that was the original Halloween Havoc. That was the pyro on the cage. Like, they had like vines and like stuff like that. And yeah, Muda had to put out a fire with his mist. And they all had to sell like electric shocks. Like, there was no continuity. Like, people were on the cage fine, and then like Muda goes up to grab a thing. He's like, ah.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit from WCW. Let's head over to what the company that I feel, besides Lucha Underground, who does supernatural, paranormal, and goofy shit the best, who's not afraid to legitimately kill off characters,
yes.
is TNA. And horror came through in violence with Monsters Ball.
Yeah, that was more of like just a hardcore match, like anything goes.
Yeah.
That became the signature match of Abyss.
Yeah.
Abyss was like the TNA version of Undertaker or Kane. I like that he's getting a renaissance now. He's in the video game. He was DLC because Chris Parks, who was Abyss, is now an agent, a long-time agent. He's been there for a while.
Timekeeper.
No, he's a road agent, I believe.
But he also does timekeeping, too. So if you watch the WN Reel, he's like, I had to cut things out of that.
When you said timekeeper, I thought you meant the guy at the ring.
No.
Because like when Mark Eaton did it, he times out the shows. That used to be Billy Kidman's job.
Yeah. So each wrestler in storyline is locked alone in darkness for 24 hours before the match. No food, no water, no light. When released, anything goes. Weapons are legal, pinfall count anywhere. And why was this created? BP kind of talked about to magnify the rage and brutality of TNA's resident monster Abyss. We had Abyss versus Rhino versus Raven versus Jeff Hardy for Bound for Glory 2005.
Yep.
We had Abyss versus Mick Foley in 2009. I have never seen that match.
I probably did, but I don't remember it.
I might have to. That might have to be a rewatch.
Mick was at the tail end at that point. Mick, I think, regrets wrestling as much as he did in TNA. Yeah. If I remember correctly. I read one of his books. Mm-hmm. I read many of his books, but I think he did regret wrestling quite as much because he was TNA champion for a minute too.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew that. I didn't watch a lot of TNA. I have to still go back and cover a lot of that and watch a lot. But fun fact, Abyss's mask was inspired by both Leatherface and Kane, a deliberate nod to horror movie wrestling horror movies.
Yeah, Abyss was like if you took Mankind and Kane and smashed them together.
Yeah.
You get Abyss.
Yep.
I think the whole thing was like he was locked up in an asylum for like killing his father or mother. Or no, like what he thought was his father, but then you find out that James Mitchell, who we talked about last week, or now, if we're watching this on Halloween, a few weeks ago, he was Daryl Van Horn who summoned Prince Karras with "We Zet Keezuns."
Yeah.
We Zet Keezuns.
This was a match that only happened once, but we'll kind of go back to a character we talked about earlier with the Firefly Funhouse. This is what we're going to do here, the Firefly Funhouse match.
If you want to go back in the archives, you'll get my I turned WrestleMania off because I hated it so much.
I still do not count this as a match. I think this is a segment.
Well, because it wasn't. Yeah,
it was a segment.
It was a segment that made no sense. Like, what were you supposed to be watching?
I don't know.
Yeah. How did John Cena escape from the Phantom Zone? Is he still there? Is this a fake John Cena?
This might be a fake John
Cena. Like, that is how I would have resolved the heel turn. That is the evil John Cena that appeared after the real John Cena
And we need a John
disappeared.
Cena versus John Cena match.
Yeah, Well, did you see they had a stunt double in Australia?
Yeah.
Have that be the evil mirror universe John Cena. Like, teach him a few things. Cena can beat him in like 2 minutes.
Yeah. So let's talk about something even stranger. A match that takes place inside your mind. No rules, no referee.
Okay, so how do we
no
see
logic.
it? How do we see it if it's inside somebody's mind? How do we, the audience, see it?
You win when you break your opponent psychologically.
Or you make him disappear, apparently. No,
Yeah.
there was a pin. Like, Bray pinned him, and then he just disappeared.
Yeah.
And he didn't come back for like a year and a half.
So WrestleMania 36, the COVID era, no live crowd, so WWE let Bray Wyatt's Fiend turn his feud with John Cena into pretty much a horror film.
I hated this so much. I hate
It's
it.
the Fiend versus John Cena. And when Cena, some highlights, when Cena faces his past gimmicks, relives his past failures, and ends as a trapped soul.
And joins the NWO for some reason.
Yeah, somehow joins the which people loved.
I think it was because people always wanted, before it actually happened this year and it wasn't very good, people always wanted Cena to turn heel. This is like, oh, this is what would happen if he would have turned heel.
Equal parts nightmare and wrestling satire. Fans still
nightmare for
debate
sure.
what it meant.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments what the Firefly Funhouse meant to you.
So this reminds me of something they did in WCW with Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan. It was when the Ultimate Warrior was there. And they did a backstage thing, like Hogan's obsessed with the Warrior, he's freaking out. And they're in the locker room, and all of a sudden you see the Warrior in the mirror. And Hogan's freaking out because like, the Warrior's in the mirror, brother, the Warrior's in the mirror. Tony Schiavone's like, oh, it's the Ultimate Warrior, it's the Ultimate Warrior. We can see him. Bischoff's like, what are you talking about? And you're supposed to think Hogan's crazy. No, Eric Bischoff is crazy. He's the only person in the world who can't see this.
Yeah. Sometimes wrestling, some of the greatest minds in wrestling, when they try to step out of the wrestling bubble and enter another venue, it just seems like they just turn stupid.
Right.
They just don't know how to blend the two.
And this is this is me. Like, I'm gonna be the heel on this episode, I know.
Yeah.
But
because you hate horror.
I don't.
Yes,
I don't. I hate things that don't make sense.
It doesn't always have to make
no,
sense.
it should. It should. It should. Like I said this before, Halloween's a great movie. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Halloween, what was it? Halloween Kills, where Michael Myers
Fights off
he fights off the entire town of Haddonfield.
Yeah.
And then the next movie, he can't beat up Jamie Lee Curtis, who's 65 years old.
Yeah, I hate that.
Doesn't make sense.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Well, let's stick with Bray Wyatt a little bit more here. This is one I enjoyed. I actually like
Please
this
don't
match.
say the swamp fight.
This is the swamp fight. I thought cinematically...
It was worse than the Firefly Funhouse match.
It made more sense.
No, it didn't. He's hallucinating. He died. He drowned.
No, sorry. No, this is the swamp fight. I was thinking of when they did the match versus the New Day at the compound.
Okay, yeah.
I like that one.
That was the Wyatt family.
The Wyatt family.
I thought the Wyatt family was great.
Yeah.
Because they stayed away from the stuff that was supernatural. It didn't make sense. It had no plot, through line. No
He was
plot
more
line.
Captain Sullivan. He was a crazy cult
Yes,
leader. Yeah.
exactly. I loved that Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
I don't think he was the best in the ring. No disrespect to the dead. I think the only time he would ever have a great match is if he wrestled Bryan Danielson, and I could have a great match with Bryan Danielson, circa 2000, whatever that was. But the character I liked a lot, and somebody we brought up, I think, just in very much passing on the episode we did back in earlier in October. Waylon Mercy.
Yeah.
Waylon Mercy was based off of Max Cady and Cape Fear, specifically the remake with Robert De Niro and Nick Nolte. Great movie. Where it's just this guy who's very soft-spoken, very genial, very, I'm just a simple man. I'm just a simple man here and with my family. And then he goes psycho. And that is great. Like, the cult leader thing is a good gimmick.
Yeah.
Like, if you do it right, it wasn't a supernatural, but CM Punk did it with the Straight Edge Society.
That's why I want Brother Bedlam to lean into.
That would be fun. That would be really fun, yeah.
I think he would be really good with it. Because when he was first doing it, kind of pulling the curtain back a little bit, he was talking to and gargly, and I was like, don't. And I said, just because that's what you look, doesn't mean that's how you have to be.
Well, yeah, and we even made light of this, but it's because he has the long hair and the chain and the beard. Like, oh, Bruiser Brody.
Yeah,
no,
I told him,
it's cool to be something different.
I said, you look like Bruiser, but lean more to Brody Lee, where you can talk articulate and you can be smart. You know what I mean?
Great example. Well, the greatness of Bruiser Brody's gimmick was he was supposed to be the intelligent monster.
Yeah.
An intelligent monster is a great gimmick.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when Bray Wyatt isn't hosting children's shows from hell, he's dragging people into his swamps. A cinematic fight in a swamp, lying between a match and a hallucination, and disappears. Wyatt was created to pit Braun Strowman against his creator, Bray Wyatt, in a symbolic return to the swamp where his monster personality was born. So this was Extreme Rules 2020, and the ending is Braun drowns.
The horror show at Extreme Rules.
Yes. Braun drowns Wyatt, only for the Fiend to rise from the water like a literal horror movie character.
He's Leviathan.
They literally put that match together just to the Fiend pops out. Yeah.
And I thought that was really the cool thing I liked at that point with Bray Wyatt. They were kind of doing like a Three Faces of Foley thing with him, where you had Cult Leader Bray, Swamp Bray, you had the Fiend, and you had brown collared shirt Firefly Funhouse Bray. You had like three guys. It's like Mankind, Dude Love. Like the Cult Leader's Mankind, the Firefly Funhouse guy is Dude Love.
We're going to get another layer of the Fiend where he was more darker and creepier and sinister, but that unfortunately never got that. Yeah. This one we kind of talked about, so I'm going to just kind of go through it because it does fall under the casket match, and this is the great
time out. If we're going to talk about that, the horror show at Extreme Rules, one of my least favorite wrestling events ever in 2020, we have to talk about the Eye for an Eye match.
That's coming.
Okay, all right.
Grave Consequences was Lucha Underground's casket match. Finally, let's end the catacombs of Lucha Underground. Essentially, it was created essentially as a casket match, but framed as a ritual burial to appease the Aztec gods.
And this is backstory. This is lore. I like this stuff.
Yeah. It was a blend of Lucha's mythology and horror storytelling, death, resurrection, and spiritual warfare. And it was Mil Muertes versus Rey Fenix, and it was Grave Consequences 1, 2, and 3, and it was beautiful brutality.
Didn't they blow up a casket once?
I think so.
Yeah.
Each bout filled with dirt, coffins, candles, and tragedy. And I really like it. If you really want to go check out, I'm the kind of guy, I love this shit. If you really want to go and experience an era of wrestling that was just special to its time, and it was Spanish Mexican soap opera meets professional wrestling.
So the whole story, Lucha Underground originally aired on something called the El Rey Network.
El Rey, yeah.
And it was when there was a push for more diversity in TV networks, and it was a Comcast channel, I believe, that they didn't have a big penetration, but the network was overseen by Robert Rodriguez, who made like From Dusk Till Dawn. We talked about that. He made El Mariachi. He made Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and even like Spy Kids and Sin City. These were all Robert Rodriguez things.
Machete too, right?
Machete, yeah. That was because he's very close to Quentin Tarantino. And he wound up, they did Grindhouse together. Yeah. And Machete was one of the trailers. And most of those trailers.
Like a big trailer in the movie.
And most of those trailers have become movies because there was Hobo with a Shotgun was another one that became a real movie. So he brings in the main people creatively that were involved with that. Like one of the top guys is a guy named Matt Van Wagner, who was actually a producer on Survivor. And he went back to that after Lucha Underground went, but he was like, I think, the showrunner. And then as far as the wrestling side, I believe Chavo Guerrero was involved as far as coordinating the wrestling. And Christopher DeJoseph was another guy that was very involved with that. He was a writer for WWE who was most famous for being, do you remember Big Dick Johnson?
Yeah, the guy who strip come out.
Or just called Fat, Oily, Naked Guy.
Who became a Republican guy that says that kids shouldn't see drag shows.
Yes, but you could see him in a thong rubbing oil over himself and gyrating against Vince McMahon. Yeah, that's him.
But actually, it's not on the list, so let's cover any matches that we may have missed. That's the Eye for an Eye.
Yeah, so the Eye for an Eye match was after Seth Rollins had already injured Rey Mysterio's eye by pushing it up against the ring steps.
I thought it was Malachi.
He did it to him too.
Yeah.
Because that's why he had to paint it up the eye. But it was originally Rey Mysterio. So they wind up with Seth and Ray doing the eye for an eye match, which is a match where you only can win by putting out your opponent's eye. And there's actually like wrestling lore for this. This is something that
Vader did this one time.
well, Vader, no, that happened to Vader. No, Vader just got beat up so bad by Stan Hansen, his eye popped out.
Yeah.
And his mask kept it in. But no, this is something they would actually teach people how to do. Because if somebody was trying to take advantage of you, someone was trying to screw you, if you were in a fight in a real situation and you couldn't be embarrassed by losing, they would teach people to go for the eye, like to try to take somebody's eye out. Because if you're in a fight with somebody and they pull your eye out, you're going to stop fighting.
Yeah.
Like, so they would teach it, like, go in there and just pop an eye out. Just get in there and, like, clunk, and pop it out. And they even said, like, if somebody was, like, very disrespectful in wrestling training, and maybe this is lore, this could be an urban legend, I don't know who exactly was supposed to have done this. Like, I know that, like, Hiro Matsuda broke Hogan's leg on purpose the first day of training. But I think there was, like, a very disrespectful person that came to, like, a wrestling training thing one time, and they said they popped his eye out, and then when he went to try to pick it up off the ground, somebody stomped on it.
Oh, fuck.
Yes.
If you watch an old video of when Eddie Kingston and Evil Cassius Ohno got in a legit
Chris Hero,
fight.
you mean? Chris Hero,
yeah. He's going for Eddie's eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The famous one, I think it actually happened, was Haku and Jimmy Jack Funk, or Jesse Barr. I believe that happened. That
Didn't
was
Haku try to rip someone's eye out in an airport one time?
It may have been Jimmy Jack. It might have been Jesse Barr. Yeah. And the other thing with Haku, they said, is like he was in a bar fight with somebody once, and he just went in their mouth like he was about to do a mandible claw, and just like went like that and pulled all, like, just snapped all their bottom teeth out.
Fuck that.
That's why Haku is somebody, like, nobody messed with Haku.
Yeah. And there are other matches that we didn't talk about, just off the top of my head. Hell in the Cell started off as a Holland-style match. With
Kane with the debut,
Mankind versus Undertaker, and then Shawn and
Shawn and Undertaker's the first one.
Hell in the Cell then actually ended up pretty much dying because of paranormal stuff for a while, because they did a Seth and Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, they did a DQ is what they did.
Yeah. Then it was kind of resurrected again with Punk and Drew, which I thought was a fantastic match.
Oh, yeah, excellent. Well, and another one, and it didn't get as much play because it was in Saudi Arabia. Rollins and Balor had a really good Hell in a Cell match.
When he busted his head open.
Yeah, really good Hell in a Cell match.
Oh, no, that was Finn and Edge when Finn busted his head open.
You're right. No, that was WrestleMania. No, the one I'm thinking of, I think, was Finn and Seth.
Yeah.
And it was excellent.
Some steel cage matches have a paranormal entity to them, but not a lot.
Yeah.
There's always been boiler room fights.
Boiler room brawl, the Undertaker and Mankind. That was a match where Paul Bearer turns on the Undertaker.
What was the one with Sting and Vampiro, the graveyard match?
They did a great. I think there was a graveyard match with Vampiro and I want to say the Demon, the Kiss Demon. I think.
Speaking of, Ace Frehley just died today.
Oh no, I didn't know that. Yeah. So that Sting and Vampiro did an. Oh, no. The Inferno match is WWE. They call it like a Human Torch match.
I remember watching the one where it starts in a graveyard where Sting jumps Vampiro in the graveyard.
Okay, maybe they did that. This might have been the same match, but they did a match at the end of WCW called a Human Torch match. It was their spin on the Inferno match, where there's a torch above. Like when Vince Russo came over to WCW, they never had like a Titantron, and they just finally put up a big video board because Vince Russo would use it for like promos and stuff. It was like integral to his plot structure, and at the top of it they had like a torch, and it was like, okay, the match has to end up there, and whoever sets the other guy on fire wins. So Vampiro wins. So like Sting gets knocked down. There's a stunt Sting up there. Because Sting's like wearing like I think he's still wearing like a coat or something, or at least like he's fully clothed. So Sting gets knocked down, and then they set the stunt person on fire, and then he just throws him off the thing, and he goes through a crash pad at the bottom, and they put him out.
Yeah. The Boneyard match, Taker versus AJ Styles.
That is the cinematic match that I like.
Yeah.
Because at its heart, at its core, it was still a wrestling match.
Yeah.
And the Firefly Funhouse match was not.
And it was a way to hide Taker, which I still think Taker can do that character and do cinematic and probably fine.
Let's see what happens at WrestleMania 2027.
Yeah.
Because the Saudis are going to throw a lot of money, and maybe I think some guys who never would have expected were going to come back might come back for that.
You think so? Yeah.
No such thing as a permanent wrestling retirement.
Yeah.
Never.
Any other paranormal spooky stuff that we missed?
Nothing's coming to mind. The ECW did a thing. It wasn't like paranormal, but they called it the body count match. Like my cousin went to it. I was like 8 years old at the time, 9 years old, and it was Holiday Hell was their show, and it's like I survived the body count match. It was like a chalk outline, but it was like guys were like locked in shark cages and they set off fireworks and stuff like that.
All right. Well, these matches aren't just gimmicks. They are chapters in wrestling's strange obsession with death, fear, and spectacle. From Kane's Ring of Fire to Undertaker's Graveyard, from Mila Mortis' Resurrection to Bray Wyatt's Nightmares, these horror matches remind us that wrestling isn't always about winning. Sometimes it's just about surviving. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you, BP, once again for hanging out. I'm going to close out here, but we will do a quick one just talking about some stuff that's going on locally. But if you love this dive into wrestling's creepiest corners, make sure to subscribe, drop a comment, and tell us your favorite spooky match or one that scarred you for life. Not really spooky or horror, but Jake the Snake and Macho Man Snakebite thing still fucks me up.
We talked about Warrior in the Casket.
Yeah. Next week, we'll climb out of the graveyard and back into the ring, something with a little lighter, or will we? I think our first one of the next month going into Thanksgiving, we'll probably give thanks to some of our favorite wrestlers. Yep. So I think definitely you have one, and I think we should buddy it with his commentary partner.
Yeah, that was like one of the first things I ever did on Twitter Attack.
Yeah, so maybe bring that one back. So we're going to do the history of Gorilla Monsoon, and then follow that one up with Bobby the Brain Heenan, and pretty much give thanks to some of our favorites going into the year. Until then, ABJ and BP reminding you that wrestling is not every bell toll is for victory. Sometimes the toll is for the dead. We'll see you guys next time. We'll talk to you later.